Between action and cut, there are no rules.
That's my high, man. That's my high. That's it. That is, that's my fulfillment right in there. That's what I yearn for. That's what I dream about, think about. Those moments that we all have as human beings when we are in our head, walking from room to room, thinking about something, capturing ourselves talking out loud, having the conversation with no one that we wish we had 10 years ago if we had them in front of us now. These moments that when they stop, you don't even know what happened. That's the two moments. And it's a privilege and it's a blessing when someone hires me to do that for them. I can't even put it to words. That satisfies me in a way nothing else in life does. Period, hands down. And I've tried a bunch of different things. Not drugs. But that is everything to me. And and I've noticed that making films makes me creatively fulfilled too, which is nice. And I enjoy it, and it can move people. But nothing will replace being an actor. And that's my career, it's my profession, and I think I've hit this business head on in different faculties to ensure that progression of an acting career for myself. Auditions come and go. You know, my resume, much like other people that have been in the business that are pretty known, friends of mine, I'd say maybe only less than half the work is from auditions, you know. Sometimes we work for people, and then the cinematographer is also a director and he's doing a film, and that one sees your work, or you get an offer here and stuff. It just kind of comes, you know, from working. Work begets work, right? Same thing in this business. And that's my cake, man. I like to eat it too. Yeah.
Why are you more comfortable being vulnerable on camera than, let's say, in real life?
I think
okay?
because I have to live with it.
Sorry, I cut you off.
No. I think it's because I'd have to live with that happening. Letting something get to me to the point of tears, breaking down. You know, extreme excitement, extreme lows, extreme this. I try to walk a line as, you know, as a dad now. That keeps me in check. But like you said before, there's no repercussions. I think when I have the freedom as an actor to go to different extremes, it's definitely a release for me personally in different aspects, because I feel that life holds me back from what I'm allowed to do. That doesn't mean I'm going to go do something violent and stupid. It's not that. But we're confined. And I want to feel too much. I don't know how else to say it. It's like I want to feel. I want things to hit me. I want it, I want it, I want it. And that's not a healthy way to live. But that open door that I have, being receptive and vulnerable when I'm allowed to react appropriately to that. If I have an obstacle in my life as a dad, as a human being, a husband and a son, I overcome the obstacle with composure and integrity. I don't have to be composed or have integrity on camera. You know what I mean? The truth can come out, and I can go there with it. So there's certain releases that yes, it does help me overcome certain things in my life too. But man, for lack of better words, I just like it. I just like it, you know? And it gives me a fulfillment that I need.
So the character of Cuz, let's say, he can be things that in real life, maybe you think them, but you can't embody it.
Yeah,
He can be that wild card.
Yeah. I think actors, Look, acting is different for everything. You know, people talk about method acting and all that stuff, and there's been so many, you know, interviews and whatnot on it. I don't even know what method acting is. I know that, you know, certain roles require 100% of you, and certain roles, if you put more than 50% in, you're overdoing it. I'm referring to certain television stuff. You know, it's like you got to hit your marks, you got to say your lines, you got to look here, turn your head. It's like two, whatever. So the role dictates, and sometimes you're blessed with a role that you can really just literally put those shoes on and put it and walk in it. And if you're fortunate enough to have a little piece of you in there, or someone that you know that we were talking before, that you can, it's kind of like the tangible factor that you can kind of feel without working on it. Because I think that's the death of acting, when I hear actors saying like, oh, I'm working on this, I'm working on it. I'm like, well, what's to work on? If you feel it, you feel it. If you know it, you know it. It shouldn't be work. The only work that I know as an actor is getting my lines down. Everything else is just discipline. You know what I mean? Lines are work. I have the worst memory in the world. Maybe that's why I made a career out of improvising, because I just couldn't remember my lines, but I'm getting better at it. But yeah, something like Cuz was complete freedom. And there was something in me that rang true with that character. There was something there I could tap into and step into that. You know what it's kind of like, Karen? It's like, think about different cliques of friends you got. For me, I have actor friends, I have military friends, buddies from back home, you know, filmmaker friends. They're getting Kevin, but everyone's getting a little different, slightly different little side of me. You know, there's a group of friends I grew up with that were older, so I'd be like the younger, you know, I just felt more energetic about them. If they want to call me crazy, so be it. I just had more energy than them. If there's friends or kids that I mentor at school and they're younger than me, I tend to be a little bit more subdued, man, you know, because I'm just going to bring it down and not be as crazy and wily as them. So they may look at me like a disciplinary or a teacher or a role model. So I'm not going to be bouncing off the walls with that. But it's still Kevin. It's still Kevin. So with a role, I feel like I have to identify what piece of me makes sense there. Because if it's not a piece of me, then I'm lying and I'm acting, and then it's not real. It's not true. I won't act. I refuse to. I won't do it. I won't do it. So I turned down a couple roles, and it was I felt so bad doing it. They were offers, and it was so hard to turn something down. But I just couldn't do that because there wasn't something in me that connected with that role. I was gonna get paid too, man, but I was like, it won't be me. I know there's dudes out there that could play that better than me. I just know it. I just know it. And even one I referred, an actor, he's a buddy of mine, and he just does that better. He looks better doing it. There's something in him that plays that better. And I just felt like it was more justice to the filmmaker if they hired him, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to use the word sellout, but it sounds like it has to be a piece of you. There's many pieces of you and many parts of you.
Yeah.
And if it's not, you don't want to be, you know, sort of this caged corporate guy role that maybe you don't feel like is in you.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm
you know?
just
If it's
assuming.
someone that's super, super insecure or something, and I could work on that, but if there's not, to my core, there's not just like a piece of me in that, I'd be dialing it in. You know what I mean? If I really couldn't get there. And I'm like, that's just not, I'm not that guy. I can fall into this very easily, but to fall into that, it won't just look right. You're never gonna see me in a rom-com. It's not gonna happen. Maybe down the road. And I love it. I love humor and stuff. I always try to find the humor and levity of everything. But when it comes to a rom-com, when I walk into a room with a mug like this, it's just not screaming rom-com. So I don't get, you know, seen for that, let alone offers for it, you know? Who knows? Maybe someone make a movie in New York and New Jersey and I'll fit better into that. But who knows?
What's the difference between an actor who is vulnerable and an actor who's not vulnerable?
The actor that's not vulnerable is not an actor. That's the difference. You have to receive everything. If you don't receive everything, you're not receiving the material, you're not receiving the person that's across from you, which is what it's all about. You probably have preconceived notions of how the scene should be or how you should be and things like that. It's death to behaving in a realistic manner. if you're not vulnerable and you're not truly personalizing, receiving what that other person is giving you or the obstacle in your way, then you're just fabricating something. And there's nothing real there, you know? So being vulnerable is really the key. And depending if you know who the person you're talking to is. You have to be open to everything. You receive everything, you pull it, just like in life. And between action and cut, like you were saying, everything is received. If you're not open and vulnerable to that, you're just saying the lines. You're just saying the lines and that's it, and just going through the motions. And to me, that's like, you know, vanilla.
But earlier you said you didn't want to play this one character that was insecure. Isn't being vulnerable opening up to the fact that we're all insecure? Some of us have insecurities about different things, but we're all insecure.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Well, you said previously that there was a role that you weren't sure it was playing like an insecure person.
Yeah.
But being vulnerable is admitting the fact that we're all insecure. So where does that play into it? If you're vulnerable as an actor, how can you tap into this insecurity even though I don't get the sense you walk around like a shy little mouse when you come in somewhere? You're larger than life or your persona shows confidence. I don't know. I'm just assuming. I shouldn't assume. But where if you had to be insecure, where do you tap into that? How do you show that vulnerability?
Oh, I hear what you're saying.
If I don't know if I might be.
No, you are.
Butchering
And no, you're onto something. I get it. Yes, I'm human. So it's my job as an actor to be brave enough to go places that I don't want to go, especially if I'm hired to do so. That being said, I will. And this is one of the reasons why I started making my own movies, because I was more often than not met halfway. So if a filmmaker is asking me to be vulnerable and to play a character that is self-conscious and open and bleeding from the inside out and all this stuff, and that filmmaker, like sometimes I can tell by the writing, I can see by their past work, I can tell by talking to them, really, just talking to them, who they hire for their cinematographer. Like these are choices, you know, like being in the profession long enough as an actor, I can kind of pick up on it. I get like a gut instinct about it. If they're writing a character, rather than a person, a real human being that has to go through this, and they're looking to capture that, then I'm down. I'm down. I need the confidence that you as a filmmaker is going to embrace what I give you. I'm not making the movie about me, it's not that. But I gotta know where your head's at. Because you're just writing a script, you're like, oh, this guy's super insecure. You know? Oh, you know, he's an insecure guy and this and that, blah, blah, blah. If that's written in the script, it says like, the role is David, insecure, unsatisfied, this and that, the other, like whatever the descriptions are, right? That to me is fuel. I am on that description, man, like I am a fox honed in on a mouse, man, like I'm on it. I'm digging so deep sometimes that I dig deeper than a writer or director does when they're writing it. So it's a dream for me when someone is there like I am when they're writing and they're planning as a director when they reach out to me and we're on the same wavelength. So that character they wrote, it's not just like, oh, David's character cries because of this or whatever it is. They're really picturing this life live out in this scene. And they're coming to me to really be the one to live that out for them. I'm all in. I need someone else all in to realize that it's not just a caricature and it's not just like some character is crying because he's sad and we don't really get into the nitty gritty and the guts of it. You know what I mean? So I guess without being long-winded, it's like I gotta be met halfway. Or I'm just walking through something acting like I'm insecure.
And have you ever been wrong about a director that you thought would let you go there based on their prior work, based on who they hire, and it actually, without naming names, you felt caged. You felt like, you know what, I can't be this character. What am I doing here?
Yeah, something didn't click once with this one guy, and he was a friend. And we still get along. We talked about it too. You know, we laid it on the table. But on set, something didn't click. And I would never be disrespectful because I was hired on to do this movie. So who the hell am I? I would never raise a stink. I'm not that guy, ever. I'm hired to do a job. You got me. This director in particular, the way I work doesn't click with the way he works. The way he works as a director is that he is making the film, and he is ensuring that every single little nook and cranny that the actor does is exactly what he wants, when he wants it said, and this and this and yada yada. I tend to be a little bit more loosen in the moment, you know, because sometimes you get pinpointed, you know, or you get pigeonholed, I mean, into certain things. So it has to click. But oftentimes he was saying things to all the actors. He's like, don't worry, I'll get you there, and things like that, which was kind of degrading for an actor to hear. Because it's like, well, you're hiring me to do a job. I'm already there. We didn't even do the scene yet, so you don't need to get me there. Like, just say action and let me do my thing, you know? So he's a little bit heavy-handed as a director. And that's fine, man. Some people are cool with that, you know what I mean? When I directed Sons, and I'm going to direct, you know, Dirty Hands too, I remembered that, and I just kept in mind, like, you know, you got to say action and you got to sit back a little bit because you hired everyone for a reason. And I appreciate when a director hires me, we talk about everything, soup to nuts. Maybe a little excessively up front. I ask questions because I don't want to overstep bounds or anything like that. And then when he's ready and I'm ready, I'm like, all right, man, you know, you got me on action. Just take the reins off, brother. It's on. And I said, if you feel like you need to reel me in, you know? And I'd rather, as a filmmaker, my actors feel like that. And as an actor, I'd rather feel like that. Feel like someone hired me for a reason for what I bring to the table, rather than hire me and put their hand on my neck and kind of walk me around. I just don't work good like that, that's all.
Right, so it's sort of similar if I was going to be asking you questions and then I'm like, oh, you know what, Kevin, can you say that again? But like, well, when you talked about, you know, being excited about a film, can you do this instead?
No, that's okay.
That's not controlling it too much?
No, because at the end of the day, you're painting the director's picture. You know what I mean? It's his picture. Like, I'll give you this, give you that. Sometimes I have an idea for a scene and I'll tell the director and I'll say, look, you want to do it the way you thought first? That's fine. Let's rock. If we have time, can I play with what's on my mind too? If we have time. I'll always respect director's time, production time, because ultimately they got to get what they want. But it's my job as an actor to give them choices. And I don't know the outcome of things percentage-wise, but often enough, sometimes I'll throw something in there that made sense to me that will ultimately get chosen and picked for to be in the picture. You know what I mean? That's not a feather in my cap, don't get me wrong. It's just that you got to figure when a writer's writing it and a director's directing it, and then I get the role, I am 24/7 on that character. They're not. So I'm bringing things to the table, idiosyncrasies and thoughts and obstacles and observations and everything that might make the director go, oh, I didn't think about that. And people did that to me as a director too. It was cool, man. I was like, oh man, you're really getting into this, you know? It was great. So I like to feel that way as an actor. And then it's on the director, it's their call. But depending on the role, in certain roles like Cuz or like Jesse and Malicious, you know, like there's certain roles that require a lot of you, a lot, even physically, a lot. And when you're deep diving that much in, yeah, I look for a director that's in it. Like I look for someone, doesn't matter if it's a young guy, young girl, old girl, like whatever, I want to see someone that's rolling their sleeves up like I am. And I'm like, then you're going to get all of me. And I'm going to leave it on the table. Most of the time I don't remember what happens. And that's that. Need my Rolodex? Here it is. I'll help you out any way I can, you know?
But in the real world, we may not get that from people. So what if you get a half-hearted person and you feel like you're all into it and they're not? How do you still finish the job? Knowing like, you know what, this person, they're just not, they're not on my wavelength, they're not respecting my time.
Yeah. What I do respect is that they reached out So I'll never not consider that. You know what I mean? I'll never put myself on a pedestal like I'm better than for someone or I'm better than a job. There's just some jobs that I just don't think I would fit, you know? And trust me, I want every job. I'm human. I got a mortgage and a wife and a kid and bills too. You know what I mean? And I can't tell you the feeling, man, when ultimately I end up walking away from something because there's a paycheck in front of me like this, and it's like, well, there's my mortgage for the next 2 months, man. You know? But if I do it, that's not going to look good on my career, and that's way beyond 2 months. So it's like I try to stay and make my choices as an actor that go like this, or I can make choices right now and go like that. And I didn't work all these years to take a dip, so I got to be smart about it. So if that means I got to live a little tighter and do things and adjust my belt to make sure that I could hold out, then, you know, they come, and I've been pretty fortunate. So, you know, knock on wood. And then I'm also in the meantime writing and planning my next one to do too, you know. So.